Thanks again for tuning in to Tankers Fantasy Football, where this show we're going to talk about DraftKings again. We finally made it to week 4, so we're going to give you a couple lineups here.
All right, I'm gonna go with a lineup that's like matchup favoring. And all these people in these lineups, they got some really good matchups coming in. I mean, we're gonna start it off with Stafford against those Desolation Row Chicago Bears. And I know I love your Bears, but my God, I mean, usually I go cheap quarterbacks, but Stafford for 7,300 against those Desolation Row Bears, or even have more injuries piling up. I think Stafford for 7,300. I mean, he might be the top quarterback of the week this week.
Yeah, I mean, he had a fantastic week last week. I don't expect anything to go too far from what he did.
And that game was outdoors, too. That game was up in Lambeau. I mean, it's not like the weather's turning bad quite yet, so I think Stafford and Soldier this week is... I think you can write him down for 3 touchdowns. I really do.
I think the only thing that could possibly hold him back from a huge week is if they're just killing the Bears and they just start running the ball.
Well, I mean, unless this Dwayne Washington guy can get it going. I mean, they don't really have much for running the ball. So, I mean, it might be more of a dump it off.
To Theo Riddick kind of
Yeah, they might be like using the run game through the passing game like Tom Brady and the Patriots like to do. And if that's the case, I mean, he's just going to pile up those yards against them Chicago Bears. He really is. And we're going to go with another prime matchup here at running back. We're going to go Ezekiel Elliott against the 49ers. Now, Ezekiel Elliott has given up the 49ers defense have given up back-to-back 100-yard games to the likes of Fozzie Whitaker and Christine Michael. And I think Elliott, I know he boned you last week and you watched Lance Dunbar. You went out there and you watched Lance Dunbar and Alfred Morris and Dak Prescott all steal goal line carries from him.
Eventually, he's going to put a week together where he's going to get you 100-plus yards and he's going to get in the end zone.
I mean, he totaled 160 yards receiving last week.
Yeah, he had 140 on the ground.
Yeah. I think if he can get in the end zone 1 or 2 times against those Niners, I think the yards are going to be there all day long. If he catches 2 or 3 balls and can fall in the end zone for you, Elliott might be your boy this week. He really might.
I think this is the matchup that just plays perfectly right into Elliott. The run defense, there's not a team that's much colder right now than the 49ers front 7.
There really isn't. Running back 2, I'm going with my boy, LeGarrette Blount out there.
He's just been rolling.
Blount force trauma. This guy's getting the carries. Who knew he could run so fast in that 40-yard run against the Texans for a touchdown? He was getting it scooting out there.
This guy, he's leading the league in rushing yards at this point.
Tom Brady's only out 1 more week, so I think we got to capitalize on this, and he's going to get 20-25 carries against those Buffalo Bills, who haven't been very good against stopping the run. David Johnson punched her in twice last week in a game when the Cardinals are just getting their poop pushed in out there.
Carson Palmer 4 picks on the day against them.
Getting poop pushed in. I think LeGarrette Blount, I think we're looking at another 20-25 carry game. I think we're looking at 100 yards, and I'm saying, he's got to get in the end zone at least once against those Buffalo Bills, right? I know the guy has 0 targets on the year, but if we're talking about a guy who's going to be touching the football, LeGarrette Blount for 5,000 in your lineup is very sexy, people.
And we don't even know who's going to be lining up for quarterback on this team. There's talk that Garoppolo might be back, but if he's not, it might be Julian Edelman time. It's crazy, but it might.
I think either way it's going to be the LeGarrette Blount show. I really do. They're going to start the game with LeGarrette Blount, and they're going to finish the game with LeGarrette Blount. He's been rolling, he's RB2 numbers all year long so far. He's your boy. When Brady comes back, temper expectations a little bit. Might have to sit him next week just to see what happens then, but for now, I think you still got to cash in on that 5,000 for LeGarrette Blount. Now let's get into some receivers, and we got just some big boys out there, and A.J. Green for 8,500 and Allen Robinson for 8,000. And I know A.J. Green has kind of been the mediocre rally lately the last couple weeks after that huge Week 1 game, but I think he's going to get it right out there against those Miami Dolphins at home in Cincinnati. They're out there giving up, what did they even give to Terrell Pryor? I think they gave up 8, the Dolphins gave up 8 to 144 to Terrell Pryor in the receiving game last week. I think that spells wonderful things for A.J. Green.
And Allen Robinson for the Jags finally got it going last week. Found the end zone twice. I think he can find the end zone again against this Indianapolis secondary. They're playing in London. They're going to be excited.
I don't necessarily like players playing in London, but I don't know. I'm just feeling really good about Allen Robinson finally getting it together out there. I know Vontae Davis has been playing football again, but that Colts secondary is still banged up. I think Allen Robinson is looking to find that end zone again. Our third wide receiver, we're gonna go Tyrell Williams of San Diego. And he's playing against
great matchup.
Another great matchup. This whole lineup is just full of good matchups. I mean, Tyrell Williams against the Saints, who just vomited up points to the Falcons last night. Oh my goodness, it's just terrible. I mean, he's clearly the second option in that offense, especially with Antonio Gates sitting now too. I mean,
yeah, Gates very, very likely he's gonna miss another week here, and they're obviously gonna. I mean, they're just gonna line up the scoreboard. There's no doubt about it here.
Yeah, I mean, Tyrell Williams, I think, is a very safe play for 4,400 in DraftKings. I really do. And we're going to go with another guy who got it together last week. And he had 3 catches for 12 yards coming into this game.
Then he just lost his mind.
He lost his mind for 7 for 109 to Tutty. We're talking about Colby Fleener, and I was kind of on that
He's
Colby
the guy
Fleener.
we thought he was.
I mean, I don't know if he's going to do 7 for 109 and 1, but for 3,200, if he can get in the middle of Desolation Dirt Bum Road in Sexy Boy, which he was on Monday night, I mean, for 3,200, I mean, if Willie Snead sits again, I don't think his targets are going anywhere. I think you can write him down for 12, 15 fantasy points if Willie Snead's not out there again. What we got? Oh, the guy I just mentioned. In the flex, Terrell Pryor. He was the utility. He was the entire Browns offense.
He is the only guy now on the offense now that Coleman's out for a month or whatever with a broken hand.
The guy had 14 targets for 8 receptions for 144 yards. The guy also had 4 carries on the ground for 21 yards and a touchdown. And then he threw it 5 times for 3. I mean, he completed 3 of 5 passes for another 35 yards. I mean, this guy is doing everything out there. I mean, what's he even costing you? 4,300? I mean, I know the Browns are bad, but
he's the only guy they have.
The only thing he has left to do is throw it to himself. I mean, if the guy can somehow throw it to himself for a touchdown, we're talking holy grail. We're talking double down touchdowns. I mean, they're not far off from that.
We're talking like a 30-point play.
I mean, how far off from that are we talking here? I mean, this guy's doing everything. We're going to see a Mr. Perfect shot up, bound down, and it's going down, people. 50-yard touchdown to himself. You heard it here first. Then we're going a little cheap on defense, but I like this matchup, especially since how bad Brock Osweiler and the Texans looked last Thursday night. We're going to Titans for 24, and I'm feeling really good about it. I know the game's in Houston, but I'm still feeling really good because that Titans D has been stout.
It has, especially against the run. They've been plugging everything. They've looked like a legitimate defense.
And Brock Osweiler, I think, has been exposed. And, I mean, the Titans are going to bring that heat, I think. If they can shut down Lamar Miller and somehow get a lead in this game and force Brock Osweiler to throw the football a bunch of times, I think you can look for a Titans points defense to get you value for 2,400. I really do. Let's hit them with that second lineup we got.
All right. You know, I like to go cheap on quarterbacks, and I'm going to get the priciest quarterback play I have all year. I'm going to go at $5,400 at Trevor Siemian. He had a great week last week, and I think he's got a very good matchup this week here. And for 54, I mean, it's $400 more than the bare minimum.
I mean, he went out there and had 4 touchdowns last week against the Bengals defense in Cincinnati, who have been pretty stout against the pass. I mean, they shut down Antonio Brown week 2 pretty good. And old boy Trevor Siemian went out there and dropped 4 touchdowns. And, I mean, I don't think he's going to drop 4 touchdowns again, but for 5,400, I mean, the Tampa Bay Bucks have just been vomiting up. They give wild 30.
The whole, and besides the Panthers, if you're playing anyone in the NFC South and you have the quarterback that's playing them, I would probably start them.
Yeah. I mean, the Buccaneers allowed 37 points to the Rams in Tampa last week. I mean, 37 points to a team that hadn't even scored a touchdown coming in. I mean, write it down. I mean, Trevor Siemian might just carve them up out there. I know that's crazy sounding, but it might happen.
So with the cheap quarterbacks, I'm gonna go a little cheaper on running backs here, but I'm spending 63 on Melvin Gordon, who once again, I mean, he's just getting better and better with Danny Woodhead out of the equation, taking the lead back role, getting some catches last week, putting up huge numbers. And this week, I know it's crazy, he could do even better.
I mean, look at what the Saints gave up to the Falcons running. I mean, Freeman and Coleman combined for almost 300 total yards and a combined 4 touchdowns against the Saints last week. And that was in New Orleans. This game's in San Diego. And I mean, I know Melvin Gordon's yards per carry wasn't that good last week, but his involvement in the offense was. He caught 4 of 7 targets. He's still, I think, that goal line back they got going on. And I mean, if his involvement stays the same against this, I mean, this is some junior college defense out there for the Saints. I mean, if they can get it going against them, I mean, if they try to establish the run, and they should, since watching what the Freeman and Coleman did to him, I think we could be looking at a Melvin Gordon 100-plus yard game, 2 tutties.
I think Melvin Gordon could be an RB1 play toward the end of the year.
Oh,
I really do.
This might be the play of the week, Melvin Gordon, for 6,300 against them Saints in San Diego. It really might. I mean, my goodness. I mean, if Devontae Freeman and Tevin Coleman weren't sharing any time with each other last night, they would have lost their goddamn minds. And Melvin Gordon, I mean, he's sharing a little bit of time, but not like they are. I mean, we could be looking at Melvin Gordon's best game of his life right now, coming up this Sunday.
I mean, we're talking about 2 running backs last week who each had over 30 points. I mean, Tevin Coleman, I think, had like 29 something, but basically 30. 2 running backs over 30 on the same team in one game. That's insane.
Melvin Gordon, I think, is the running back play of the week in DraftKings. I really do.
All right, now we're getting a little budget play here, 3,700. We're going with the Chicago back. We're going Jordan Howard here. I mean, Langford got carted off. He's going to miss probably 4 to 6 weeks. Howard...
Kadeem Carey's been banged up, too. Kadeem Carey missed last game banged up.
Howard actually looked like he can be the lead back by the time it's all said and done at the end of the year.
I mean, temper expectations, because we are talking about them Chicago Bears. But for 3,700, I mean, if he's getting the workload in this offense and the Bears can somehow,
if he can
stay in this game.
If he can get you, 15 points for 3,700.
I don't see any way he doesn't get you at least 10 points. I mean, if he's all they got, I mean, if Kadeem Carey does miss this game, because Langford he's out 4 to 6. Jordan Howard is really all they have left, Bears.
I mean, even they know you're going to get him involved in the receiving game. Because how much did they push the ball down the field with Hoyer last week?
Oh, my God.
This might have been the first time in a very, very long time where there were probably 2 receivers targeted more than Alshon Jeffrey in the game.
Hoyer went out there and had a 93 quarterback rating, and that's why I hate quarterback rating, because that's a pretty good quarterback rating, and it looked like some pretty dog crap play to me. So I think I've never liked quarterback rating. I've never given it value into how good or bad these people are actually doing, because I mean, me giving Hoyer a 93 quarterback rating, I mean, I think that's just terrible. What, just because the guy knows how to dump the ball off and he gets a good quarterback rating? I don't think so.
All right, so got a little cheap, but we're gonna drop a big 97 burger, and we're gonna get some Antonio Brown. Now I know, he hasn't quite been himself. I mean, he redeemed himself a little bit last week. Week 2, he's gone down. But, again, anytime you get Antonio Brown in your lineup, you had the possibility of getting 30 to 40 points.
I mean, best player in fantasy, hands down. I mean, especially with Julio Jones and Odell Beckham kind of looking on the snide right now. I mean, Antonio Brown is hands down the best fantasy player in the land right now. And, I mean, there's no way getting him in your lineup is a bad thing, people. It really isn't.
Another good play. We talked about one other San Diego receiver. We're going to get another one. We're going to get Benjamin for 59. He's more of the speedster guy. But again, with this matchup against the secondary, I think it's a very safe play. And I think it's a play that has a very high ceiling.
Oh, if you have Chargers, you play them against the New Orleans Saints this weekend. I don't care who it is. If you have Chargers, you play them against the New Orleans Saints.
All right, I like Crabtree this week. Michael Crabtree, $6,400. I think very good option there. And with some of these other ones that have gone cheaper, we're going to spend some big money.
I mean, back to Crabtree a little bit. I mean, he's playing the Ravens, and they've been giving up. I mean, they gave it up to Devontae Parker. Devontae Parker got in the end zone. They gave up a long ball to Landry, and he's not on that long ball train, but they gave up a huge game to Jarvis Landry. I mean, Crabtree is. I mean,
he even got let Allen Robinson finally getting the end zone twice there.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. I mean, Crabtree's your guy. I know Cooper costs more, but I think Crabtree is the play. I mean, he's the guy.
I think Crabtree's going to get you more catches.
Yeah. I think when it comes down to, higher floor, I think Crabtree's the play over Cooper. I really do.
All right, so we talked about a couple of value plays in there, and that's because we're thickening up the tight end spot. We're getting a boy, Greg Olsen, for $6,000. And the reason I love this play is, look at the matchup here. Seriously.
The Falcons just gave up a huge career game to Colby Fleener.
Colby Fleener finally got it rolling.
Colby Fleener rose from the dead last week out there. And, if Colby Fleener can rise from the dead, I think Greg Olsen can dominate the world against the Atlanta Falcons D. I know it's in Atlanta, but I don't see how it makes it worse. Playing in a dome on a fast track. Yeah. I think that's one of my shootouts of the week is the Panthers and the Falcons. So I think Greg Olsen for $6,000, that's paying the piper, but I think you're going to get your return. on it.
And one of my favorite plays for $4,100 is Jeremy Hill. Why is he $41 this week?
$4,100. He came off. He did a really good game against a very stout Denver D. And I was proud. I stuck with him in my lineup. I was thinking about benching him, but didn't.
Not many people. If they had any other decent RB2 that they could throw him besides Jeremy Hill, I would almost bet that Jeremy Hill is not in your starting lineup against Denver. He's putting up nothing first couple weeks, and then he's facing his toughest matchup of the year. And what's he do? He slices them up.
The Dolphins aren't going to take this game and run with it on Thursday night. They really aren't. So, Jeremy Hill is going to be able to get his carries, and it's in Cincy. They might lean on that run a little heavy. For $4,100, I think a guy coming off a good game, he looks spry out there. I think he's your boy against the Dolphins this week.
And we're going pretty cheap on D. We're getting Browns defense. What was it? I think 2,300. 2,500. And against Washington Redskins, it's in Washington, but still, I'm just not a believer yet.
The Browns are the Browns, but you got with a lineup like this, you got to go cheap somewhere, and the defense is the place that usually takes the hit. We're just trying to give you a different defense. I'd personally go the Titans against them Texans, I guess, for 24, but we're just trying to give you a couple different options out there. Well, let's go with some more value plays that we didn't touch on in our lineup. We got Tevin Coleman for $4,500. I know he's playing the Panthers, but the game is in Atlanta, and apparently he is the clear-cut goal line back because they were working him out there. But we got 3 touchdowns against the Saints on Monday night.
And Carlos Hyde, huge game last week. Who knows? If he stays healthy, he could put up some decent numbers year-round, like people have been talking about on this Chip Kelly offense. For $4,200, at home versus Dallas, he can get some big numbers.
I do really love that for $4,200. I'm not a Carlos Hyde guy at all, but for $4,200, at home against the Cowboys, that's pretty good value. It really is. If he's going to touch the football and stay on the field, $4,200, that's live action. We got Bernard and Hill. We just touched on Hill, but Bernard's only 47, so if you think, he did look a little spry out there catching some balls. If you're into that kind of thing, he's your boy. Then we got Michael Thomas for $3,800. If Willie Snead sits again, Michael Thomas, he could be your boy for $3,800.
We saw with Snead out how many more targets that Fleener and Thomas got. This is dirt cheap.
I tweeted out before the game that with Snead out, Fleener and Thomas were going to be more involved, and I didn't think they're going to be that more involved, but my goodness, they look good out there. They really did. Who we got? One quarterback. I know it was a bad matchup in Denver. Against Denver, but you're playing in Tampa Bay, and it's $5,400. If you don't like Simeon for $5,400, Winston for $5,400 is pretty decent play. That's pretty dirt cheap.
Yeah, and he's shown it is a tough matchup, but he's shown that he has a very high ceiling. He's had some huge weeks so far. Week 1 and 3 so far
were huge.
Yeah.
The only game he did bad was on the road in Arizona. When he's played at home, he's lit it up. And this game's at home. I know it's at Denver D, but I think you could. I don't think he's going to go out there and totally lay an egg for you. I really don't.
I still think he can get you 250 and 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, 250 and 2. For $5,400, 250 and 2 is pretty sexy.
I mean, who's to say that Trevor Simeon's not going to do that? I mean,
Yeah.
they're the same price, 54. That's about as cheap as it gets as a starting quarterback.
Yeah, it's like who you really like in that situation. If you're gonna go cheap, I'd say those are the cheap quarterback plays of the week right there.
All right, so matchups we don't like, and I'll tell you what, if you're in a year-long league, you have to play this guy just because you paid it for him. But $9,200 for Julio Jones, I just don't like at all.
I mean, he's going to be playing against the Panthers this week, and the guy only had one catch against the, oh my goodness, New Orleans Saints defense. I mean, if the guy only has one catch against the Saints, I mean, how are you going to pay $9,200 for him against the Carolina Panthers? That's just gross. That's gross. I mean, I love the guy, but $9,200 after a one-catch performance is completely gross.
And there has to be something going on there. He's shown up on injury reports, and he's been limited in some practice, but he's been able to play. But he just has not looked nearly as explosive or dominated as what we're used to seeing.
Oh, I think they might be running that decoy with him, just sucking up two defenders and let the other guys get open, because he is not beating that double coverage like we're used to seeing. I mean, I just don't know what to think about it. I think it's a wait and see at this point. In daily fantasy leagues, I know in your yearly leagues, like, you play Julio Jones because that's what you do. But in daily leagues, I mean, I think it's a wait and see at this point, especially against the Panthers D.
In $9,200, you can save money and get some other pieces elsewhere.
Oh, yeah. More not value, we got Lamar Miller playing against the Titans D for $7,000. Lamar Miller cost $7,000, and I mean, the Titans D have given up the second fewest points to running backs this year in fantasy so far. And for $7,000, I just think there's more things you can go out there and get with way better matchups than Lamar Miller.
And Lamar Miller, he's shown that he has a very, very nice floor, but he's yet to get in the end zone. And we're talking coming up to week 4, and he still hasn't got in the end zone.
I mean, the guy still had 14.7 points last week in a game where they got absolutely embarrassed and shut out by the Patriots, which is incredible. I don't know how he managed 14.7 points. But, I mean, for $7,000, 14.7 points isn't really getting it done for $7,000. No. And Titans D is stout.
Another back we're going to hit on here. Le'Veon Bell, first game off his suspension. They say the coaching staff likes his conditioning coming in, but I still can't see them full thrust giving him the workload right away, especially with D'Angelo been playing so solid. I think they're going to maybe see kind of the 10 to 15 carries this week.
I mean, yeah, I'm not really hating on him, because I guess, like, if he does go out there and blow it up, I mean, $7,500 might be the cheapest you could ever get Le'Veon Bell, like, the entire season in DraftKings. But, I mean, a guy just coming off the bench, putting on the pads, like, $7,500 is a pretty steep price. I mean, they're playing against the Chiefs D, who just straight up bitch slapped the Jets last week. So, I mean, they're riding high. And I know the game's in Pittsburgh, but a Chiefs defense who's looking riding high out there, I don't know. $7,500 is just a little unsavory for me for Le'Veon Bell at this point.
Yeah, I still think Williams is going to be involved this week. I think Le'Veon Bell will probably get like a 60-40 kind of thing this week. But even with that said, I'm not in love with it.
We got Des Bryant for $7,900. I mean, the targets just aren't there, people. It's just bad. I mean, I know the guy loves football, and I know I love that Des Bryant loves football like he does, but I mean, the guy has talent, but the targets just aren't there, and apparently he's banged up now, getting an MRI, and I mean, for $7,900, there are just way better options than a guy who isn't even the vocal point of his offense anymore.
Right. I mean, Dak Prescott he's not even much of a goal line threat anymore. Dak Prescott is stealing some goal line carries, as well as Alfred Morris when they get down there.
Yeah, I mean, a banged up Dez for $7,900 and a team where he's just not seeing the targets. I mean, his high water mark is 17 so far this year, week 2. I mean, that's not $7,900 value, and I don't see how any way he's going to go over that 17 points this week. I mean, I know they're playing the Niners, and the Niners are bad, but I think that just might be a run it down the Niners' throat and to get on the plane and fly home situation. I really do.
Another receiver kind of banged up. That's Brandon Marshall for $7,000. He finished the game, but I don't know. They're saying it's not a sprain or anything, but it's definitely a ligament damage. but
Yeah.
what else can it be?
I mean, he's playing against that Seahawks D that's ranked the fewest, and I mean, they're giving up the fewest points to wide receivers in fantasy. I know the Seahawks D hasn't really played teams that have like dominant receivers. I mean, they played the Dolphins, they played the Rams, they played the Niners. I mean, those teams don't have really much for wide receivers besides like Jarvis Landry, and Devontae Parker didn't even play week 1, so they didn't even play against him. I mean, but Marshall and Fitzmagic just looked dirt road terrible last week with them 6 picks. I mean, I just don't see Marshall returning that 7,000 value at all. So, I mean, he's more of a wait and see right now, especially playing against that Seahawk defense.
The 6 picks to Fitzgerald. That's so bad.
That's so bad. I mean, I haven't played Madden in a while, but when I used to play Madden, you played against a computer, they would pull their quarterback after 5 picks. I mean, I don't know if they still do, but if the video game is pulling you after 5, I mean, 6 is incredibly disgusting.
You had negative points this week.
Negative fantasy. Playing a whole game and
You'd have
return.
been better off not starting a quarterback in your roster.
Instant waiver wire fodder. Angry. He's just getting cut out there because people hate him.
We had more fantasy points than Fitzpatrick this week.
I had more fantasy points than Ryan Fitzpatrick did last week. I did. I went out there, oh boy, word. If you would have started me, I would have returned more value than Ryan Fitzpatrick. That's incredible. That's downright incredible. I feel so good about
that game was so bad, it was impressive.
It was embarrassing. I was watching Red Zone, and like every game break was like, didn't they just show us this pick? No, it's another one. It's another one. Somehow he threw another pick in the last minute and a half. It's crazy insanity. I don't know how it's going on. Quit throwing the ball, Jets. Just stop letting it happen. Just run it. You're embarrassing yourself on the Red Zone channel.
All right. I think that's it for this week's edition of DraftKings here. So make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel.
Like and comment below. We will respond to your who do I start questions. We enjoy communicating with the outside world out there. We like to communicate with you out there and give you ideas on what you should do with your leagues. All right.
We like the Twitter. We got the Twitter.
Oh, we're on that Twitter.
We got that sexy new logo up.
Like I said, if you're on that Twitter, I told you about Colby Flynn and Michael Thomas. I did, people. I drummed it up.
Thanks a lot for watching. We'll catch you later.
You're going to hit him with that goodbye horses?